Welcome back to the Sipping Sooner. Today we'll be getting into Oklahoma's conference schedule, starting off with no other than Cincinnati Bearcats. So stay tuned, and you already know, get your drink, got mine, and let's get it. All right, Cincinnati. So we got new conference, new coach, new quarterback. Um, me personally, I don't have a lot of high expectations for Cincinnati, but been watching a few of their preseason prediction shows, and a few other people around the industry seem to think that they might be on the cusp of going to a bowl game. Um, I don't know. We shall see how they do when they jump up in competition here, and that slate gets a little more difficult. As I was listening to them, I think that a lot of the people was not really in tune with the Big 12, it sounds like. I think they think they're getting a Cincinnati from last year, and actually the last few years, Cincinnati's been pretty good. But I don't think that's what we're getting. Mainly, me personally, it starts and ends with Emory Jones. I'm not a big Emory Jones believer. Um, I didn't think he was good at Florida. I didn't even watch him at Arizona State. So I don't know. We shall see. So let's see. So they was 9-4 last year in the American Conference, and they bring over Scott Satterfield from Louisville. He was okay at Louisville. They had Cunningham as their quarterback. Tutu Atwell. I used to like watching him play for Louisville. But other than that, I mean, to me, he's just okay up to this point in his coaching career. I mean, he did great things at Appalachian State, but that was Appalachian State. So in this year's schedule, they avoid Texas, they avoid TCU, they avoid Texas Tech, they avoid Kansas State. So Cincinnati returns only 2 starters on offense and 6 on defense. So let's go over my top 5 Cincinnati players going into this season. But first, let's mention a few honorable mention players that they have on their roster. We'll start off with defensive back Sammy Anderson and defensive end Eric Phillips, along with safety Brian Threats and running back Corey Kiner. Oh, and let's throw in defensive end Deshaun Pace as well. Now, let's get into the top 5 players for Cincinnati, in my opinion. At number 5 coming in, we have Xavier Henderson. Xavier Henderson is a wide receiver. He's transferring from Florida. He didn't have a whole lot of production at Florida, but I mean, when Scott Satterfield, when he arrived at Louisville, I think he had one wide receiver in that room, so he had to get some bodies and he had to get them quick. You know what I'm saying? Henderson is 6'3", 200 pounds, and in 2022 he had 38 receptions, 410 yards with 2 touchdowns. Like I said, not a whole lot of production, but he gets to reunite with Emory Jones, his former quarterback at Florida. Like I said, I'm not very big on Emory Jones. So, matter of fact, speaking of Emory Jones, he's my number 4 player coming in. Like I said, he plays quarterback, 6'3", 212 pounds. Now, in 2022, he was at Arizona State. They really didn't utilize his skill set very well. Try to make him a pocket passer. He's more of a dual threat at best. Didn't use his legs at all. He only had, 62% completion percentage and 1,500 yards, basically, and 7 touchdowns with 4 INTs. Now, I'm just going to go on out there on the record to say, if he throws for 1,500 yards this year coming up, they're going to get their ass beat straight up. He got to get those numbers up. I don't know how many games he played in, but yeah, it's going to have to do better than that. And I think if they incorporate his legs, which Satterfield has been known to do, let his quarterbacks run a little bit, that'll be their best way to counter, some of his lackluster throwing at best, So let's go to number 3. Daniel Griziak, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. A defensive end transfer from Utah State. We know we got a transfer from Utah State on our defensive line here at OU. This guy was pretty productive, man. 6'1", 250 pounds at the defensive end position. He had 52 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks. Not bad, man. 2 forced fumbles. But, that's Utah State. Again, you can almost, I don't know. Maybe he figured something out, but you can almost cut some of those numbers in half. I don't know, man. But he'll also have help on the inside. And the first piece to that puzzle is defensive tackle. My number 2 player coming back is Jawan Briggs, defensive tackle, 6'2", 297 pounds. So nice size on him, 2022, he has 61 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. He's pretty good, man. I think this guy, he could start for a lot of teams in the Big 12, tell you the truth. Then you got my number 1 player, Dante Corleone, the other half of the defensive tackle tandem, 6'2", 318 pounds. In 2022, 45 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. So they got 2 good defensive tackles, man. So we'll see how those guys stack up. I think both of those guys, but we all know, what it's going to come down to at the end of the day for Cincinnati, that's 3 guys on the defensive line. You need, let's see, you need about at least 7 or 8 deep, in my opinion, in order for you, before you can start to call yourself, having some kind of competitive depth. Anything short of that, man, the drop-off is just going to be too big when you go to the second team. So we'll see how they look. So when you look at this game between Cincinnati and Oklahoma, they're going to have to lean on their defense and their run game, with Emory Jones and Kiner, and they got another back. I think his last name is Montgomery. They're going to have to lean on those guys pretty hard, man, because I think if you asking Emory Jones to go out there and win your game with his arm, it just ain't going to happen. It just ain't. I think we know by now what Emory Jones is. Been watching him for 4 years at least. They have those two defensive tackles, like I said, that could start for anybody. Matter of fact, I believe they would get some game time, Oklahoma's defensive line. But ultimately, Oklahoma just has too much offense for them, and you put that with Cincinnati's lackluster passing game. Even though OU's weakness last year, was the Russian defense, I think that's going to be shored up by guys being in the proper lanes and their run fits this year. So, as long as they led by Emory Jones, that just ain't gonna get it done. So I think OU wins this game by 2 touchdowns on the road. Yeah, the environment's gonna be hostile. They're gonna be fired up for their first Big 12 conference game. It's at home. They just renovated their stadium not too long ago, a few years ago. But ultimately, I just don't see no way that they keep this game close. They do at the beginning, just going off adrenaline and hype, but ultimately, I think OU's just got too many waves of athletes and players to throw at them for them to be able to keep up the entire contest. So, like I said, OU by 2 touchdowns. So, other than that, it's the Sippin' Sooner, and I'm out this bitch.